This season, Tua and the Miami Dolphins have been on an absolute offensive tear. Tua has looked like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL through this season, and he is proving that he is worth a number 1 overall pick. However, he was not a number 1 overall pick, as the Miami Dolphins' star quarterback was selected 5th overall in the 2020 NFL Draft. So who are the 4 players drafted ahead of Tua in the 2020 NFL Draft, and where are they now? The 2020 NFL draft class was one of the most hyped draft classes we've literally ever seen, and it featured many of the top quarterback prospects we've ever seen out of college football. In 2019, LSU and Joe Burrow went on an absolute tear in college football as they completed the perfect season. And the Cincinnati Bengals had the number 1 overall draft pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. And even with Tua playing absolutely amazing in his college football career at Alabama, the Cincinnati Bengals had an easy choice in the number 1 overall pick, as they would end up selecting Joe Burrow at LSU. Joe Burrow was regarded as one of the top quarterback prospects we have ever seen out of college football. In his final season at LSU, he would throw 527 attempts and complete 402 for 5,671 passing yards and 60 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. And this season alone was enough for him to be cemented as one of the top college football quarterbacks of all time. So after him having an absolute amazing performance at his pro day and the NFL draft, it was no surprise that he was selected number 1 overall by the Cincinnati Bengals. In his very first year as the Cincinnati Bengals quarterback, he looked absolutely amazing as he revitalized the team, as he threw 264 out of 404 passes for a 65% completion percentage with 268 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. However, what he did in 2021 was absolutely crazy with the Cincinnati Bengals, as he would complete 366 out of 520 passes for a 70% completion percentage with 4,611 yards, 34 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. And in 2021, he would lead the Cincinnati Bengals to a Super Bowl berth. And in this game, they looked absolutely amazing. However, they would fall up just short to the Los Angeles Rams, and they were literally 1 play away from winning the Super Bowl in Joe Burrow's second season as the starting quarterback. And then in 2022, he had another amazing season as he completed 414 of 606 passes for a 68% completion percentage with 4,475 passing yards, 35 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. And this year, it is 2023, and he has looked very shaky as the Bengals quarterback. He hurt his calf early in training camp this season, and he has just not looked the same, as the Bengals are currently 1-3, and he has only completed 87 of 151 passing attempts for 57% completion percentage with 728 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. However, this is just 1 year and is still very early in the season, and he is hurt, so I'm taking this with a grain of salt. He led the Bengals to a Super Bowl in his second season as the quarterback, so I think he was definitely worth the number 1 overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. And then with the 2nd overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders had their selection, and they would take the defensive end from Ohio State, Chase Young. Young was a do-it-all defensive end for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and in his final season, he played in 12 games and had 21 tackles for loss with 16.5 sacks, and potentially could have won the Heisman that year. So it was no surprise that after he had an amazing pro day and NFL combine that he was selected 2nd overall by the Washington Commanders. But let's see how his career in the NFL played out. Chase Young was absolutely dominant in his 2020 rookie season for the Commanders, as he would play in 15 total games and would have 7.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, and would literally have one of the best NFL rookie seasons we've ever seen from a defensive end, as he would end up winning NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. However, heading into his second year, he would only end up playing at 9 games, and he would only have 26 total tackles, 1.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles before he would suffer a season-ending ACL injury. And this was a very long process for Chase Young. And this ACL injury would still sideline him for most of the 2022 season, as he would still miss 14 games of that season, only playing in 3 games. And in those 3 games, he would have a very bad showing, as he would only have 5 total tackles with 0 sacks and 0 forced fumbles. And now it is finally 2023, and it seems like Chase Young is finally healthy and back to performing. And in his first 3 games with the Commanders this season, he has 9 total tackles with 2.5 sacks already this season. And it seems like Chase Young is a difference maker when he is on the field. However, the real question is he going to be able to stay healthy? And if he can stay healthy, he is a difference maker for the Commanders, and I think he was worth the number 2 overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. However, if he cannot, I think they should have passed up on him and potentially took Tua to be their quarterback. And then the Detroit Lions had the number 3 overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, and they took another defensive player from the Ohio State Buckeyes, this time cornerback Jeff Okudah. Jeff Okudah was an amazing cornerback in college football and probably the best college football cornerback we have seen in recent years, and he was a do-it-all player for the Ohio State Buckeyes. In his final season with the Buckeyes, he had 3 interceptions and 9 passes defended. And he had an amazing pro day and NFL draft combine, so it is no surprise that the Lions decided to take him with the number 3 overall pick in the 2020 NFL draft. However, things have not been very good for Okudah in the NFL, so let's take a look at how he has performed so far in his career. Jeff Okudah's NFL career got out to a very slow start, as he would only end up playing at 9 games in 2020 for the Detroit Lions, and he looked pretty bad. He looked like one of the worst cornerbacks in the NFL, as he only had 1 interception and 2 passes defended before he would get injured. And this injury would sideline him for most of the 2021 season too, as he would only end up playing 1 game, and he would have 0 interceptions and 1 pass defense with only 4 total tackles. And honestly, Jeff Okudah's career got out to a very slow start in Detroit. However, he would play almost a full season in 2022, as he would play 15 games and have 73 total tackles and have 1 interception, 1 touchdown because it was a pick 6, and 7 passes defended. And this was his very best season in the NFL in his 3rd year, and after this he would be traded to the Atlanta Falcons from the Detroit Lions. And for the Falcons, he has only played 2 games this season, and he has only 3 total tackles. And honestly, Okudah is looking like he is falling out.
He really looks like he is a potential bust.
And Okudah definitely does not look like one of the best NFL cornerbacks in the entire NFL. And honestly, if the Detroit Lions got to repick, I think they would take Tua. And the 4th pick in the NFL draft, the New York Giants held this pick, and they selected offensive tackle Andrew Thomas from Georgia. Thomas had an extremely dominant career at Georgia and was playing like one of the best tackles we've ever seen enter the NFL draft. And the New York Giants were in major need of fixing their offensive line, so it made complete sense that they would select Andrew Thomas, the 6'5", 315-pound offensive tackle. And Andrew Thomas's NFL career started off extremely shaky, as he would play 978 snaps in his rookie year and have 3 penalties and would have the most sacks allowed, as he would allow 10 sacks in his rookie season. And then in 2021, he would improve greatly, as he would have 5 penalties and would only allow 2 sacks in the NFL year. And in 2022, he would play similar, as he would have 1,049 snaps, would have 2 penalties, and would only allow 3 sacks on the year, and had an overall PFF grade of 89.1. Through his first 3 years, Andrew Thomas has proven that he is a cornerstone on the New York Giants offensive line. However, if the Giants had a chance to repick this, I think they would definitely take Tua with the 4th overall pick, as he could finally get them out of QB purgatory and they would not be stuck with Daniel Jones leading the offense. And then with the 5th overall pick, we had the Miami Dolphins select Tua out of Alabama. And Tua did have a pretty shaky start to his career, as he would only play 10 games and would complete 186 out of 290 attempts for a 64% completion percentage with 1,814 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. And in 2021, he would honestly also play a pretty down year, as he would complete 263 out of 388 for 2,653 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. And many Dolphin fans were calling for him to be benched after the Dolphins had one of a rough years. And then in 2022, we all know what happened, as he suffered 2 major concussions that would sideline him for most of the year. However, he would still actually play 13 games and complete 259 out of 400 for a 64% completion percentage with 3,548 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. He was looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and then this year he absolutely stepped it up, as he is completing 97 out of 136 for a 71% completion percentage with 1,306 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions, and is leading the best offense in the NFL. And I think after Tua's performances, he has proven that he is worth a high-valued pick, and honestly, I think 3 teams passed up on him beside the Cincinnati Bengals.